The vibes alive. In a circle here, the voices dry. Turn on your screens, let the magic unfold. Listening and healing as stories are told. Come on, come on, this is your time. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. In a circle podcast where hearts unite, sharing our truths, bringing hope to the light. Community strong, we're never alone. Together as one, we've created a home. With laughter and love, we break down the walls. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. So join the conversation, let's set the tone. In a circle podcast where love is well known.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Inner Circle Podcast. Today is Thursday, May 22nd, almost Memorial Day weekend. So hope you have a long, restful Memorial Day weekend. And tonight we are here, in honor of Memorial Day. Our topic tonight is honoring the sacrifices of immigrant soldiers, right? Honoring the sacrifices of immigrant soldiers. If you are in the United States, Monday is Memorial Day. Memorial Day is normally the last Monday in May. And so they is set aside to honor all those that have served in the military, especially those that have lost their lives. So tonight, here in the Circle Podcast, we are doing our part to honor them, to honor their service, to honor their sacrifice. And even if, man, you have served in the military, man, this show is for you tonight. We're hoping to, have an active duty military person, but because it's a Memorial Day weekend, everyone is traveling, everyone's busy. But tonight we are honoring our immigrant soldiers, those that have served this great country. So again, my name is Abe Kamara. I'm your host. I'm here with my man, Peterson from the windy city of Chicago. Peterson.
Good evening, Abe. Thank you for the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Inner Circle Podcast. We're always having timely conversations on this platform. And as you just heard from the Abe, Memorial Day is coming up this weekend on Monday. I actually forgot that it was going to be this weekend. I thought since it's the 31st, I'm like, oh, maybe it'll be June 2nd, but it's usually the last Monday in May. So welcome to the show. Let's have some interesting conversation.
Yeah, definitely, man. And you brought up a great point, right? I think it tripped a lot of people up this year because it normally come at the end of May because it's the last Monday in May, but this year it
Exactly.
came a little bit earlier because the last Monday, it's a little bit early, not to the tail end of the month. But folks, tonight
Right.
that's a topic, honoring the sacrifices of immigrant soldiers. You can contribute to the conversation by, putting a comment in the chat or calling our number 952-594-5154. If you are serving the U.S. military before, want to hear from you, right? Want to hear your story, let us know. And also, this platform is growing. Circle Podcast. You can follow us on YouTube, Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow over on Facebook, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, LinkedIn, X, and everywhere. We are everywhere. We are everywhere, as my man Peterson can attest to that. So join this growing movement and things like that. So, Peterson, man, what does Memorial Day means to you? Right? When I was, it's my first time I've done a little bit of research on it. It's like, I mean, you're not from Liberia, other folks, other folks from, other countries and stuff like that. But It's like a decoration day. When this day first started, they used to call it decoration day, right? It's like, so that's what it is, right?
Right.
They're honoring the dead. That's how it's called in Liberia, but here it's called Memorial Day. What does a day mean to you? If I mean, since you immigrated to the United States.
Yeah, like you said, coming to the States, when you hear like Memorial Day is the same thing like we do in Liberia, and I'm sure there are other countries that honor the sacrifices of the men and women in uniform on a certain day. But yeah, when I came to the States, it like such a big deal because like back home, like you said, it's decoration day. People go to the graves and they basically decorate or honor their fallen people, not just soldiers, but any family member that
Mm-hmm.
have fallen. But here it was mainly dedicated to soldiers, not
Yeah,
it wasn't meant for like veterans per se. It
yeah,
was merely for those who paid that ultimate sacrifice. But now it has evolved where
yeah.
we honor those who are active and
Mm-hmm.
those who are reserve veterans and
Yeah,
everything like that now. So yeah, it's a good thing, and other people need to actually take note and not
yeah,
just set this day aside and be like, okay, well, it's just this one day because as we're talking earlier this month, May is mental health month and
mm-hmm.
stuff.
Yeah,
A lot of veterans, people who have military background, when especially those who have seen any type of action, they suffer
yeah.
from those like PTSD, other
Mm-hmm.
mental things. So it shouldn't be just one day dedicated to them because many times you'll be driving here in Chicago and in any big city, you will see somebody with a couple, oh, I'm a veteran and I served
Yeah,
here and there. And
yeah,
that's one thing that couldn't get my mind over when we first came here. I'm like, not only like homeless people, but to see somebody that says they're a
yeah.
veteran, like this person served in the military, and you mean this is how they're living. So we need to do more.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you brought up a great point. You brought up a very, very great point. But before, I kind of get into that, right? Two things that I want to point out. First, right, sometimes I mean
Mhm.
it's like it's easy to confuse Memorial Day versus Veterans Day. But there's Veterans Day,
Right,
right?
right.
It's only reserved for the veterans, and that's in November, right? All those that have
Yeah.
served, not serving anymore. But Memorial Day
Hmm.
is actually specifically for those that served and lost their life, in the line of duty, or even if you served and you lost your life, I mean, this day is specifically kind of a reserve for you. And now looking at it, as I said, right, there's some research. Right, the day came about in 1860, right after the first, I mean, right after the Civil War, right, 1860. That's when this day was established. I said when it first came along, it was,
Yeah.
it was Decoration Day, and then as times went by, it got changed, to Memorial Day. But the thing you brought up, as I want to point out, right, is like it's so strange, right? Like every city you go to in this country, every city, all those that are serving, all those that are on, street corners, almost like
Yep.
90%, 95% are veterans, right? One of the places is more
Percent.
pronounced because it's a military, it's
Yep.
kind of like a military state, right? Texas, man. If you go to Texas, every homeless person is a veteran, bro. Every homeless person, and like you wonder, man, to God,
Yeah, that's sad.
it's like you
Yep.
wonder, man, why is that, right? These guys, sacrifice, for this country, the one that serve, put,
Mhm.
did everything. It's like what happened, right? It's like is society not, are we not taking care of them, and things like that. So I think you brought up a good point, right? It's like Memorial Day or Veterans Day, this day shouldn't only be like, where in like everyone acting like they so care about those that have sacrificed greatly for this country. But it should be all year round, right? We should care
Right.
for those that have served. So I think you brought up a great point. It's everywhere in this country, right? It's strange, it's really, really strange, and it's difficult to kind of comprehend. So why is that? Why is that someone that sacrificed greatly, for the freedom that we enjoy, right? Because a lot of people don't enjoy the kind of freedom we have here. And these guys go, I mean, they fight in combat, and
Right.
it's like when they come at the end of the day, right? It's
Mhm.
like we are not taking care of them. So that's so sad. So I just
Yeah,
want to know. Yeah,
and
go ahead,
to
go ahead.
no, I was gonna say yeah, and for the U.S. military being like an all volunteer
Mm-hmm.
force, where in it's not like other places that uh, you are forced to enlist and then serve. Like once you hit certain age, you have to commit that time
Mm-hmm.
to your country, and then depending on if you like it or not, then you stay in or something. For the U.S., it's like you are not forced. Although growing up here, since I came when I was young, in high school you
Mm-hmm.
have to sign like selected service, which means
Yeah,
if ever there's a draft, you are
yeah.
willing, like, hey, you guys can, I'm willing to go basically. But besides that, nobody is like ever forced to
Mm-hmm.
enlist or join the military. So for it being like an all volunteer force, we need to do more for people, and even just in honoring those who paid that ultimate sacrifice to take care of
Yeah.
like their families and things like that.
Yeah. And one of the other thing too, I mean, especially like, as I said, I mean, on this show, Soccer Podcast here, right, we like to amplify our immigrant voices, empower us as immigrants to learn about things like this, right? And also to elevate our conversation. But
Mhm.
so when we go to the immigrant narrative, right, from the immigrant vantage point, what do you think about those immigrants who have come here, as I said, right? It's all voluntary for they decided to go into the military to serve this country, right? And most of them are so proud to do
Mhm.
that, right? They really, really want to do that. Is sometimes when an immigrant come here, the first thing they want to do, they want to enlist in the military, right? What do you think about those folks that have made that
Yep.
ultimate, right? And sometimes they lost their life. I mean, in these things, right? It's like as we approach this day, this Memorial Day,
Mhm.
right? What is it, about? What do you think about those immigrants who have come here voluntarily? They say, "Man, I want to go to the military and then go serve," and then unfortunately they lost their life. What do you think about them? What do you think about the sacrifice? Because the point I'm trying to drive by, right, right now we live in an
Yeah.
environment, what I
Right.
mean, it's like immigrants are being like victimized, right, and things like that. But as I said, a lot of immigrants come here, they are
Right.
willing
Right. Right.
to join the military, and most of them have lost their life. Are we doing enough to honor them, to honor their sacrifice?
No. Actually, we're not as a country, as a society. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the numbers, but there are a lot of people in the military that come from immigrant background. Like you said, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the
Mm-hmm.
immigrants when they come here, especially those who are of age to like
Mm-hmm.
enlist into the military, a lot of them they it's an honor, it's like
Yeah.
pride when if
Mm-hmm.
you since we from Liberia, I will stick
Mm-hmm.
to like Liberia. But if you are in West Africa or Liberia and you hear
Mm-hmm.
like your relative, your nephew, cousin, son, or anybody that is related to you is in the U.S. military, man,
Mm-hmm.
everybody, even back there, they hold you in high regard because
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
relative in the States military. So with
Yeah.
that, a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
with that honor. They put the U.S. military up here, and I mean, even when I
Yeah.
was in college, I was going to enlist to the military. But at the
Yeah.
time, my parents like, "Hey, we came from war, and you want to go to war because this is when they had just gone into Afghanistan." So at
Okay.
that time,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, I went through all the training, but then when it was time to actually sign, parents like, "No, we came from war, so you can't go to war." But a lot of immigrants, they are excited,
Yeah.
and then they give you some okay, if you join, this is a quick way to actually gain citizenship and get other benefits and things like that.
Yeah.
So with that, a lot of immigrants, and not only from Africa, from all over the world, they want to go
Yeah.
into the military.
Yeah, yeah, man, that's a great point, right? And just another historical context, right? So even though this day was kind of established in 1860, the first national observance, right, was in 1868. That's when it was first observed. And sometimes you wonder why May. May is kind of at the beginning of the summer season, right? That's when flowers are coming up and things like that, right? So it was meant so that they can take
Yeah.
flowers and things like that, right? To go to to those military military service members' gravesite and put in those flowers. So that's what the chose made. If if you are in the United States, kind of a Memorial Day weekend. First of all, I think it's the beginning of the summer
This
season.
summer.
Right? Yeah, it's the beginning of the summer season. So you're gonna see, you're gonna see a lot of folks, traveling and things like that, and what have you.
Mhm.
But the other thing, go ahead. You want to say something? Go ahead.
No, I was
And
gonna say, yeah, you're
mhm,
right about that, and I think it was kind of strategic because around this time, all the
yeah,
schools are getting out
yeah, okay,
and stuff like that. So it's time for it's like the unofficial beginning of
hmm
summer because especially here in the Chicago area, Memorial Day is when like almost all public pools will open and the
hmm
beaches are open
hmm
and
yeah,
things like that.
okay.
So it's like unofficial beginning of summer.
Yeah, exactly, exactly, exactly. One of the things too, though, right, as we stick to the immigrant narrative, right, as we try to amplify our immigrant voices, and one of the things too, right, as you said, to your point earlier, a lot of immigrants are excited to serve in the military, that we really want to do that ultimate sacrifice. But sometimes for us, it seems like a double sacrifice, right? You come here, you sacrifice, you come to this country. Now you are, sacrificing to go to the military, and maybe unfortunately lost their life, right? It's like it seems like almost like a double sacrifice, but it seems to be overlooked, right? Because as you said, right, a lot of folks, it is like, is it because we as immigrants, we're not talking about military service members enough? We're not even talking, we don't even, like conversation like this that we are having. Are we having it even in our homes, right? In our places of gathering? Because as I said, this is a country we call home. We pay taxes here, and those that serve in the military, as I said, they are making the ultimate sacrifice. Is it on us to kind of elevate them, right? To make sure that their voices are being heard, that they are being remembered properly, and things like that. Because man, right, especially second generation of immigrants, even kids that are born here, when they graduate from high school, they ultimately want to go to the military. They want to go to the military, and during the time of war, unfortunately, most of them do lose their lives. Are we doing enough to what, to honor them? Even like, the country might not be doing enough, but even in our immigrant communities, are we doing enough?
No, and it's the same thing with any other part of the immigrant journey that we
Mm-hmm.
usually talk about is that that representation, having
Mm-hmm.
somebody or having a voice, having somebody from your jurisdiction that would say, "Oh, okay, I represent these people, and I want to amplify all the good that they're doing." Uh,
Yeah.
I think a couple months ago, we are talking about the good that immigrants do in the community, in the
Mm-hmm.
economy, for the economy, in society
Mm-hmm.
as a whole, and things like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that. So when it comes to the military
Mm-hmm.
portion of it. We don't talk negative about it and of immigrant descent, but we don't have that representation, or we don't have people to actually amplify the voice of those that either family members have paid that sacrifice to say, "Oh, okay, I have a relative that actually went into the military and they did that ultimate sacrifice, and here is that story," so that people can learn about this because is it's going to be like lost in history. Time immemorial, we're going to learn like, oh, okay. That's why you said that when you hear about somebody or you read about something, you're like, wait, that really happened? Because we're not bringing these stories out enough for people
Yeah.
to learn.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man, definitely. So, folks, tonight, the topic under discussion is honoring the sacrifices of immigrant soldiers. A lot of folks come here as an immigrant, right? They make that ultimate sacrifice. Make that ultimate sacrifice. Sometimes I think to me, one of the biggest sacrifices that to me, right, someone coming here, they were not born here, right? They are not obligated to do that. But as my man Peterson said earlier, right, is that most of them are so excited, to serve in the United States military. So it's like, so tonight the topic under discussion is honoring the sacrifices of immigrant soldiers. So you can contribute to the conversation by calling our number 952-594-5154. Do you have someone or have you had someone serve in the U.S. military? You can also contribute to the conversation by putting a comment in the chat, man. Let us honor our immigrant soldiers, even those that are serving, right? Not only those that have unfortunately lost their life, but even those that are currently serving or those that have served. Let us amplify their voices. Let us empower them to, to speak truth to power, and let us elevate them, right? Because I think that's what they need. In many cases, right, we are not honoring folks that are making this ultimate sacrifice, that have made the ultimate sacrifice. But Peterson, one of the other thing, right, as I was saying earlier, is like, I mean, someone that were not born here, right? You and I were not born here, but they come here, right? It's like they do want to enlist in the U.S. military. And as you said, right, like, I mean, in the early 2000s, the Iraq War, and then Afghanistan happened. But yes, still, you have immigrants coming here willing, they want to still serve in the U.S. military. Unfortunately, many of them lost their lives. It's like, it's sometimes it's hard to comprehend such a sacrifice, right? So if you're not born here, you're not actually obligated. As you say, you and I came here at a young age, right? In high school, they would say, "Oh yeah, sign this thing because if something happened, we're going to draft you, right? It's not your choice, right?" Okay, that's that aspect. But someone come here, a little bit older, they are not really obligated, right? It's something, but they are so excited to do that. If you are not born here, what do you think the motivation is for most of the immigrants that want to? I mean, that are so eager, right, to join the U.S. military? You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute, Peterson.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah,
No,
so
that's
I was
fine.
going to say, I think for those immigrants who are eager to go into the military, is either they've heard about like all the benefits that you get when you go into the military, but even before
Okay.
hearing about those benefits, a lot of immigrants from all around, when they hear about United States military, it's like gold
Mm-hmm.
standard. Like, man, I
Okay.
wish I can be a part of that one day. I wish I can be part of that because you see these guys, you see the the Navy SEALs, you see Marines on TV, and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, these guys look like the ultimate soldier, basically universal soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are
Mm-hmm.
unbreakable. So it is people who they want to be part of that elite group so that they can have that discipline. And like I
Mm-hmm.
said, they are just think about all the benefits. And a lot of times, I think we are trying to pay back. So to say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if God allowed me to come into this country,
Yeah.
maybe what I can do to give back is by
Mm-hmm.
serving.
Yeah.
That's basically the gist of it. Because a lot of immigrants, we have this like servant heart where we want to serve people, we want to look out for people, and when you come to the States, you think of the military like, okay, well, how what are the best way that I can give back to make that impact
Yeah.
onto not just my country but the whole country as a whole. So a lot
Yeah.
of people go into that.
Yeah, another great point too, right? Obviously, yeah, yeah. As I said, most of them want to give back, right? So, okay, I've come here, the greatest country in the world, right? Has allowed me the opportunity, or afforded me the opportunity to come here. So I must make that ultimate sacrifice. But the other thing is, sometimes I said, right, we live in an environment where, in like, immigrants are being, immigrants, as folks are saying, immigrants commit crimes. There's this negative narrative about immigrants. Those are served, right? Are we it's like as an immigrant, sometimes you are trying to fit in, right? You are trying for the United States as a whole to accept you, right? No matter your color, sometimes you come here as an immigrant, you might go somewhere, someone might question your accent. Even folks in the military, right, experience that when you're immigrant and stuff like that, right? So you're always like trying to fit in, right, and things like that. And so, even doing even doing that sacrifice, right, you are trying to like navigate towards, right? Number one, you are trying to give back to the country that gave you so much, right? Is that you came from a different country, you come here, the opportunity has been given to you, and so you want to give back, right? You want to appreciate them through your service. But then sometimes it's like you are also trying to fit in, right? You are trying to assimilate. You know what I mean? You are trying even harder for the country to accept you. And even now, right, it's so out there because as an immigrant, man, it's like we are under the microscope. Even for those legal immigrants, for those folks who are what citizens, we are all like under the microscope. So it's like for our fellow immigrants who are like soldiers, or those that have lost their life, like, do you think Monday is anyone even going to like mention them in a kind of elevated environment right now where there's so much negativity towards the immigrant experience? You
Yeah,
hear me?
so
Okay.
uh that's yeah, I heard you. Yeah, so with this coming up holiday and immigrant soldiers or those who have lost their life
Mm-hmm.
in duty.
Mm-hmm.
I pray that they will be honored. But
Mm-hmm.
like you say, in the environment that we live in now, a lot of it might be like almost like uh, swept under the rug kind of thing, where it's not going to get that publicity or the negative thing that is going about with immigrants. That might,
Mm-hmm.
we always say in the minority field, uh, is going to drown out the
Yeah.
positive out there. So
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be people that will still try to talk negative about even immigrants, the immigrant
Mm-hmm.
soldiers who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. And like we are saying, a lot of these immigrants, when it comes, like you just said, we already trying to fit into society. So the military might be one place that people see that there's less fuss about getting in or about
Yeah.
fitting in. So
Yeah.
if you go into the corporate way, you're like, oh man, I'm gonna be the only immigrant over here. I might not get into the position or the role that I want because of my accent, because of
Mm-hmm.
this and that. And
Yeah.
if you go into education, if you go into other sectors, you might not in right away. But the military, it seems from the outside at least, it seems like, okay, this is the place where you can fit in the quickest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And one of the other thing you brought up earlier, right? As I said, that here on Inner Cycle Podcast, where we have discussed a lot about mental health, and May is Mental Health Month. We are about to end May, right? So mental health month, where in like just everyone need that peace of mind. Need to be in the right mental state. But those that have served in the military as a whole, right? It seems to it is a. I mean, they have that extra layer of difficulty, right? They go through that difficulty because, as you said, right, someone have experienced combat. You hear stories about folks that have served in Iraq. Like IEDs, right? They look at their friend, man. You look at someone in front of you getting shot or blown up, right? It's like that stuff stays with you. And then they come here, right? Like sometimes some of them, like some of these folks, I mean, some of these soldiers are not even dying in combat when it comes to that memory, right? It's like that's how come, as you mentioned earlier, to your point about all these homeless folks on the street, and sometimes some of them they get to the point they have to commit suicide, right? They have to commit suicide because it's so difficult. Because I mean, when it comes, maybe there's not enough treatment, or people or their family members are not even understanding them and things like that. And then if you are immigrant, right? There's probably like extra. It's like it becomes like a double or three S or however way you want to refer to it, right? Because number one, you are immigrant. Number two, right? Serving in the military, you
Yeah.
experience combat, and then now you come,
Yep.
but you have that mental health situation. So it's like some of them just commit suicide, right? I mean, it's like it's so tough. How I mean, this mental health month, as you mentioned earlier, right? How can we, especially in our immigrant communities, right? Those that have served in the military, how can we best reach out to them to make sure that they feel part of the community, that they, that we thank them for their service, that we honor them. I will make sure, hey man, your community is here for you. How can we do that as a community, as an immigrant community?
Yeah. So with the whole mental health piece and soldiers and other military folks coming home and having this PTSD and other
Mm-hmm.
mental breakdowns, it
Yeah.
takes the whole community to rally around them, because if they come from such environment like full of violence and they're having all these issues, we need
Yeah.
to, if they feel isolated, it's not good. That's
Yeah.
where it leads them to doing other things. So
Mm-hmm.
we need to bring them back into the community and
Mm-hmm.
actually uh, honor them. Like what I said earlier, it's not just the last Monday in May to set aside, or Veterans Day in
Mm-hmm.
what's that, November, to set it aside and say, oh, okay, we're going to honor all of the veterans, or we're going to honor those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. It should be like a lifetime thing once they come home, to be able to treat them. And treating mean, I don't mean like, oh, medically, but to have that community around them
Yeah.
so that they don't feel isolated
Mhm.
and go down more into the mental breakdown.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely, man. I think yeah, as a community, we should do more for. And then, like I said, right, there are a lot of immigrant soldiers, a lot of folks that have served in the military. I think we should, as a community, we should support them. We should always honor their sacrifices, right? We should always kind of, know that hey, man, it is because of them that that you and I are sitting here, enjoying our freedom. Especially, as I said, our immigrant soldiers, it's like, and to all those that have served, right? But especially here at Cycle Podcast, right? We want to elevate and amplify and empower our own. So we want to thank all those that have served, right? Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for what you have done for this great country. But the other thing I wanted to bring up is like, where I mean that uniform, right? As you said, that uniform is like it's so special. Whether it's the Navy SEAL, whether it's even the National Guard, or whether it's the Marine, every branch, or what is the Navy, right? And it's like that uniform, it just carry, I mean, like an extra weight, you know what I mean? Things like that. But as parents, though, right? As parents, first generation, second generation, immigrant parents, what will you, I mean, how will you feel if your child come to you after high school and say, "Hey, Dad, I wanna go to the military"? What would be your reaction, right? And what like because a lot of like I sometimes when I go to the high school graduation, when I ask, "Hey, young man or young lady, what are your plans?" "Oh, I'm going to the military." Or sometimes their parent will say, "You know what, my child's going to the military." But what would be your reaction, Peterson, as a parent, if your child come to you and say, "Hey, I want to go, Dad, I want to go serve"?
That's tough.
Yeah.
And
I
I
mean, you said,
mean,
right? Every just who you said your parents kind of, but even, when you told your parents, you said that's what you wanted to
yeah,
do, it's like you said,
there's
hell nah. You know what I mean? Things like
yeah,
that, but
yeah.
right.
Because I did that for 2 years and they paid my
Mm,
tuition and everything, but then when it was time to actually sign, they're like, no, you can't go. So with that, and I think to put it into context, coming from Liberia, where we experienced the Civil War,
yeah.
it's like I don't want anybody going to war. I don't want anybody that I know, any person going to
Mm-hmm.
war, and then
Mm-hmm.
watching everything that have happened all around the world since then with wars.
Mm-hmm.
I I would prefer that nobody goes to war. If my child wants to serve, I'm going to. I'm not going to say I would discourage them or encourage them, but I would try to steer them to another path. But if
Mm-hmm.
I see that they are hell bent on going into the military, I just
Mm-hmm.
have to make sure that we do enough research that they know like what they're getting into and where they're going.
Okay, okay. Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely, right? I think, it's a tough choice for every parent. I mean, obviously, right? It's like they are making a sacrifice to go and protect the freedom, the fears, that we all enjoy. But I think it will be a tough situation for every parent, though. But what's about parent who maybe like, those immigrant parents who have already served in the military? Should they be encouraging their kids, right, to to follow their footsteps, or they should just let their kids, make their own choice? Or I mean, should sometimes, because like if you see some, especially folks that were born here, sometimes you see a whole generation you know, of immigrant soldiers, right? Especially in other communities, in the Caucasian community, even in the Black, African American community. Sometimes if your great great grandfather was a soldier, right? Sometimes it just go down the line. Should it be the same for our immigrant parents? For our immigrant community.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, you would sometimes see people and they're like, "Oh, my great grandfather from the Civil War time, all the way until now, it's all within like military family, and it's almost like no brainer when it comes to somebody joining one branch of the military. But with
Hmm. Hmm.
immigrant families or those who have children of immigrant background, I would say it's the same because now that you are here, you raise your children here, they grow up here. They shouldn't be considered any different
Yeah.
than those, like, I guess, typical American.
Hmm.
So in that, if that's what a child wants to do, like I said, it's not something that would say, "Oh, go ahead and push forward, and push forward, or
Yeah.
force them to quit or something like that." Let them make that decision, but they should have your support either
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely, definitely. I think, yeah, I think, what if that's what your child want to do, especially if you are served, right? You know already, you know what it takes, right? You know what it takes, to to go that route. If you are served before, and your child want to do that, I think you should give them that opportunity because, man, I think, the U.S. military, right? As I said, whatever branch you said, they are doing great things. Unfortunately, some lost their life on the battlefield, or even when they come, as I mentioned earlier, some do lose their life to, to suicide. And that's the thing, as a community, we really, really need to, tackle. But the other thing is, though, Peter, is sometimes, especially for our immigrant community, right? Sometimes you say, someone will come here, no matter their status, right? They want to go and serve in the U.S. military, no matter their status. And sometimes in that process, the person don't even have a status yet. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. They are going through that process to gain a status, and then they lost their life. It's like, how you even describe such a sacrifice, right? Because, like, you don't even have a status, so you're not a citizen. You know what I mean? And things like that. And in that process, unfortunately, you lost their life, right? How should you be remembered? I mean, how should folks like that be remembered?
Yeah, with those type of scenarios or cases,
Hmm.
is that's really unfortunate and it's really sad.
Hmm.
And I think for those people, uh, the government needs to honor them by, maybe, I don't know, whatever benefits they were supposed to get, able
Hmm.
to either their families, whether their families are here in the US or not, they should be able to take care of them. Because, like you said, when I was trying to go, I wasn't a citizen then, and
Hmm.
that was one of the incentives or the benefits. They say, okay, if you enlist right after boot camp, you're going to like get your citizenship. So with that, it's a fast way for some people to gain status, but it's not guaranteed either. So if you can go through all the training, you can go through boot camp
Hmm.
and everything, and that paperwork might still be delayed
Yeah.
until something else happens. So with
Yeah.
that, those people that paid that type of sacrifice, I think they deserve even more honor than even those who are citizens.
Yeah, I think, right. Yeah, if the person doesn't have a citizenship, right, I think, unfortunately, if they do lose their life in combat, I think, man, in the posthumously, they should be given that, that citizenship, right, or whatever benefit, as you said, they are entitled to. I think that would be one of the way to honor that memory. But folks, tonight, we are, as I said, it's Memorial Day weekend for most folks now. You have started, some folks have already, some folks have already taken that weekend. You have folks already on the road, or already in different city, but if we are in the United States, we are talking about honoring the sacrifices of immigrant soldiers. Monday is Memorial Day, where in, like, it's set aside, or days set aside, to honor those that have lost their life in combat, those that have served in the military and unfortunately have lost their life. So you can contribute to this conversation tonight by calling our number 952-594-5154, or putting a comment in the chat. We are honoring the sacrifices of our immigrant soldiers. Honoring the sacrifices of our immigrant soldiers. This day has a significant, has a historical significance, right? It started right after World War, right after the Civil War, and then the first, Memorial Day service was held at Addington National Cemetery, right? That's where, even to Monday, when you watch, if you are watching TV, these days I had to watch TV, but if you are watching TV, you will see the president. I mean, the president will go there and lay a wreath and things like that. Every U.S. president, that's like a tradition, right? That's one of the things, right? They'll go and lay a wreath and things like that. Folks will go to the military, whatever city you live in here. I think they have a military grave site, right? We have one here there's like in Minnesota, I mean, very popular one, huge, right? If you are Minnesotan and you serve in the military, sometimes that's where most of them are buried. Which one? Do you know the name of yours in Chicago, or in Illinois, Peterson?
No, I don't know where there are the
Yeah.
military
Normally
cemeteries
it's not
here,
about the like
but
the
the one
one.
you're talking about in,
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the one you're talking about in Minnesota. We
Sure.
do have a relative of my
Oh,
wife
okay.
that
Okay.
he was a U.S. Marine, and then
Wow.
when he got out of the Marines, he joined the Army, and he was
Okay.
in the Army, and then he was living in Minnesota, what,
Uh-huh.
4 years ago or so, and he like just collapsed. So he was
Hmm.
buried at one of those military cemeteries in Minnesota.
Wow. So I mean, so even this day is close. It's close. It's very close to home for you, right? Is that Memorial Day is close to home for you because you have a family
Oh
member,
yeah,
you
yeah,
have someone that's close to you,
yeah.
who's buried, at a military grave site here in Minnesota. But every normally sometimes by the airport, right? The one in Minnesota is right by the airport, right? So if you die out of the country or out of Minnesota, and if you want to come, if you are native to Minnesota, you come here. That's when
Mhm.
that's where most of them are buried. So this day means a lot you know, to our service members, those that have served, family members of those that have served. As you said, man, it's like a lot of folks, especially family members of those that have served, right? Sometimes you have widows, right? It's like, a wife, husband go and serve in the military, and unfortunately he did not make it. Now it's like Monday means, she's carrying like a heavy heart because the person she loves, the person she cares about, is no longer around. So, folks, tonight, that's what we are discussing, honoring the sacrifice of our immigrant soldiers. So, as I said, you can contribute to the conversation. Do you have someone, like my man Peterson, close to you who have sacrificed for this country and they are no longer with us, unfortunately? So, contribute to the conversation. 952-594-5154, or you can put a comment in the chat. But one of the other thing I wanted to bring up, right, is like you come, you serve, you go through, it's like sometimes it's like a civic duty, right? That's what you are doing, right? It's a civic duty. And one of the things though, right,
Mhm.
that's the aspect of it. Civically, most immigrants are now like engaged or involved. But there is the military
Right.
seems to be one place, right? The military seems to be
Mhm.
one place
Mhm.
where there's active immigrant involvement. I mean, sometimes you wonder why is that,
Yeah.
right? I know you talk about the benefit. I know you talk about the kind of what they want to give back. But what other motivation do you think is behind that? Because I mean, when it comes to civics or civically, I mean, number one, first of all, we don't like voting in this country. When you talk about politics,
Mhm.
folks will say, I don't want to be part of it. Politics is not for me. I just want to do my
Yeah.
job and move on. But when it comes to the military, man, it's so different. Why you think? I mean, what's the motivation?
Yeah. So I think is it has to do with patriotism and
Mm,
like we said earlier, trying to give back to
mm-hmm,
serve, to say, oh, okay, I was opportune to come into this country at whatever age, and I'm still eligible to serve. This is the way that I want to give back, because
mm-hmm,
when it comes to like politics, a lot of people who uh, they are they don't care so much about politics from their immigrant
mm-hmm,
country. When they come here, they like they'll sit back on the sidelines, especially if they don't have status. But when it comes to the military, I think uh, they think like, okay, this is the fastest way that I can penetrate into this culture, into this society, to
mm-hmm,
um, to gain status, and then also to be known.
mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, if you hear of U.S. military from any part of the world, like, okay, one person can take on 1,000. This is like a type of something like that where we have that mindset and we hear about it, we think about it. So when we come here, like, I want to be that hero so that I can be
Mm-hmm.
like one of those guys that I see on the magazine or see on the on the TV. So
Mm-hmm.
that I think that's part of the motivation.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, right? That's a great point, right? Because sometimes, like, I mean, even if you watch TV, when you see these commercials about the U.S. military or the Marines, they say, "Oh man, I think I want to be part of that." Right? Especially as a young person, maybe
Yeah.
come down and say, "Man, I want to be part of that." Or maybe if you sit in another country, saying that, maybe, as immigrants, right, when you're in your home country, CNN is all over, right, and things like that.
Mhm.
If you watching CNN and stuff like that, you see U.S. Marines or you see U.S. soldiers. So, man, right, to your point, I want to be like that. I think if I'm blessed to go to the United States, that's the first place I want to go, to the U.S. military. And the irony, the thing
Yep.
is though about it, right? Even undocumented immigrants that come here, for some reason, right? They do want to join the military, and they do join the military, and the military
Yep.
accept them. You wonder, okay, the man doesn't have any
Yep.
documents.
Yeah.
Why is the military accepting him? So make that make sense to me, right? I
Exactly.
wonder about that. Make that make sense to me. And here we are in an environment where, like, they want to deport undocumented immigrants, but sometimes you first come here, they are accepted in the military. Make that make sense to me, because how is that? How is, like,
Yeah.
how does that even work?
No, so I think it has to do with first the immigrants, people who are immigrants. I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
go through a lot. So a lot of them, they have this like brave mindset. Like
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter if I'm documented or
Yeah.
undocumented. I want to join the military. And so the military's point, like, we take, well, you don't say we take just about anybody or anybody, but
Yeah.
of course you have to meet some requirements. But
Yeah.
since it's all volunteer force, this is
Mm-hmm.
why they almost like don't
Mm-hmm.
stop people from trying to at least join or make an attempt to join, because
Mm-hmm.
not everybody that go in make it. Sometimes some people will get they will get dismissed or discharged. But since it's all volunteer force, this is one of the reasons why they don't. When I said, I don't want to say discriminate. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter who you are, as long as you are able-bodied and willing. They
Yeah.
are willing to give you that chance so that you
Yeah.
can at least prove yourself. And if you are undocumented and you have that zeal to join and say, "Oh, okay," even though this person came here illegally, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe this is the reason that they came into the
Yeah.
country. They
Yeah.
can join the military, and we'll send them to to Iraq, Afghanistan, and other places.
Yeah. In that case, though, if someone's undocumented, let's stick to that a little bit. Someone is undocumented, I've served, especially now. I keep coming back to the current environment we live in, because sometimes, right? I mean, you all know my political affiliation, but that's one thing that bothers me about the whole negative narrative about immigrants. Because at the end of the day, right, I'm an immigrant, right? It kind of, you know what I mean. We are all in this together, but in the kind of environment we live in, where, like, there's this whole talk about mass deportation. There's this, undocumented immigrants, and things like that. But someone have served, right, honorably, right, like, went through battles and things like that, and then in the process, right, they never got their documents. But then now, right, in an environment like this, where, they are grabbing everyone from the streets, right, and deporting them. You could deport someone who served this country honorably, so a veteran. He could be caught up in a current situation and get deported. How do we reconcile that? How can we actually reconcile such a situation? Because the person saw it, right? Is that they came here, they saw the need, they say, hey man, it's like, I think I want to give back to this country. And they did that. But unfortunately, because they have not gained their status, they could get caught up in the current, get caught up in the current situation and get deported. How do we reconcile that?
Yeah, that's something that you say is not fair,
Mm,
and is like, for those who are facing that particular circumstance.
mm-hmm.
I I don't know what to excuse.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. I think the other thing too, right, is as you try to what I view that. The other thing too, it's a tough situation, to your point that you're trying to say or anything. But we as an immigrant community, should we be doing more, right, to bring to bring awareness to such a situation, because as I say here in a cycle packet, our motto is right: amplify, empower, and elevate. In such a situation, should we be elevating or amplifying those voices? Hey man, the person served, right? It's like they don't have a criminal record. You know what I mean? They don't have a criminal record, and the thing is, right? He says like the narrative is trying to get rid of violent criminals, but the person does not
Yeah.
have a criminal record, and then unfortunately, I mean, they are caught up in a situation that make sense, right? Should we, as an immigrant community, should we be doing more to elevate our people, to make sure their voices are heard? Because I mean, no matter your political, affiliation, no matter what part of the divide you fall on, at the end of the day, right? As I said, we are all in this together, and sometimes some of these stories, when you hear them, so painful. You say, okay, make that make sense to me. Why? Why? You know what I mean? And for me, as I said, as a Republican, where we respect the military, you know what I mean, and things like that. But when I see such a situation, when I hear such a situation, it's like, make that make sense to me, man. Why are you doing that? You know what I mean, and things like that. So it's like, why?
Right. Yeah, but to be, I don't know, to be clear too, generally those who are undocumented, they are not
Hmm.
eligible to like join the military. Although there are exceptions, there will be people who you
Yeah,
can say they
that.
fall through the cracks. They might say that they are lawful residents or something, and then they get in. But I understand what for those who for some reason maybe somebody promised them like, hey, you know what? We know you are undocumented, but if you come into the military, this will be your way of gaining status or getting that paper that you want. But then they get caught up in this environment now, and it's not fair to them. And I know they'll probably say, well, uh, we didn't know you was undocumented, or the person, because now the justification that we have to be hearing sometimes is that even if you're not a violent criminal or you're not somebody that have a whole rap sheet, as
Hmm.
long as you came in illegally,
Yeah,
then that's like a crime. Basically, to
yeah,
enter
that's a
the
point.
country illegally. So,
Hmm.
for those who are facing that scenario,
Hmm.
the community, the immigrant community, we do to amplify and bring about like this is a good this person is doing. This person came
Yeah,
here, even if they came illegally or they are undocumented, they are not committing crime. They're serving the country or they serve the country. So that should be something that they should have
yeah,
all the benefits that
yeah,
anybody who's got to give them that same benefit. So if it's somebody
yeah.
that is undocumented and they were promised maybe citizenship or some type of status, now
Hmm.
is the time for their superior to push that through so that it can be able to gain status.
Yeah. And another thing, though, right, I just want to clarify something quick. Even though it might not be legal, it might be against the law, man, but there are a lot of undocumented immigrants that either are currently serving or they have
I know.
served, However, they got there, right? If you say, I'm not going to disagree with you, that's
Mhm.
illegal, or it's not right, but,
Yeah,
or it shouldn't happen, but I mean, it's like the records are there, it's like they are either serving or they have served,
of
so however
course,
they, so however they got
that's
there,
true.
that's a whole different story. But the other thing, right, as you try to, there's a 1 hour show we've been going, we have been going on now for almost for the last 1 hour. But as we try to, try to wrap this thing up, especially like for the younger kids that are coming up, you know what I mean? The younger immigrant kids in the second generation, third generation. How can we, teach them about sacrifice, right? Sacrifice. The sacrifice should sacrifice only mean going to serve in the military, or how best can we serve this country? Because sometimes when you think about a situation like this, it's all about service. And to me, right, folks that go and serve in the military, to me, that's the ultimate service, right? Because man, it's like I admire you. Like you want to do that, right? You want to go and serve, right? It's like a
Mhm.
higher calling. But what conversation should we be having with our kids, right? First generation, second generation kids about service overall.
Yeah. So, like you said, serving or giving service or being of service is not only uh, enlisting or joining the military. There are other ways that people can serve the community and serve the local areas. And
Mm-hmm.
it has to be like talking about people not being civically engaged. You have to
Mm-hmm.
engage into that conversation. We need representation. If we have somebody that, if you know nothing about military, you know nothing about like politics, if you have
Mm-hmm.
somebody in your local uh, where you live that
Mm-hmm.
tells you like, okay, well, this is why, because in every community there are veterans, there are people who
Yeah.
have served in the military. So if we encourage these people to come to like the kids schools or to churches or community
Mm-hmm.
centers so that they
Yeah.
can be able to lay everything out, then the immigrant and the children, we can make an informed decision, because many times uh, we will wait until the child is 16, 17, 18 years old when they're about to graduate. They say, oh, this one, he's too stubborn, he's too hard-headed. Let him go to the military so they can like basically break him. And that person is going without the information that they need to make that decision, if this is the right decision for them, if it's the right way for them to go. And there are other ways you can serve your community and enlarge the country. You can engage in politics, even if you are not a politician or you don't want to engage in politics. Just being a contributing member of society,
Mm-hmm.
stay out of
Mm-hmm.
trouble, and living like how you're supposed to,
Yeah.
is that's serving your local
Yeah.
place that you live as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a comment I have from Ben, so from Canada. He said he's from Canada. He's wondering if we think citizenship should be granted if a number of years in the military is served for people who want to migrate to the U.S. But I think Peterson kind of mentioned this earlier, right? Is that folks come here, they want to definitely maybe because of some of the benefits that the military offers, right? Maybe like citizenship and things like that. I don't know how many years you have to be in the military to qualify for citizenship. Peterson, do you know?
No, I'm not too sure.
Okay, but I think right, but just to that point, I think hey, it shouldn't even be if it is left to me, it shouldn't be if you accept if you kind of have that courage, right? If you immigrated to this country, you have the courage to go and serve in the military. Man, once you have been qualified to serve, the process of you becoming a citizen should start right away. You should not wait any number of years. You should not wait 1 year. You should not wait 2 years because you have it's like as Peterson's point earlier, it's a voluntary service. No one is putting gun to your head and say, "Hey, man, come and serve in the U.S. military." Donald Trump, my man Donald Trump is not calling you up and say, "Hey, come and serve in the military." No, he's not passing any executive order to say, "Hey, you are immigrant, I want you to serve in the military." No. So it's a voluntary thing, and once you have volunteer to do that, I don't think any number should be put. It should be put on you becoming a citizen. I think it should be automatic. Peterson, what's your thought? Do you have me, Peterson? Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead. Go ahead.
I think if you do serve in the military, if you decide to go into the military, and it doesn't matter which branch, once
Mhm,
you make that decision and you go through all the like the requirements and you
mhm,
meet everything, and you are now like full-fledged member of the military. At that point, if you do not have status, even if you are a green card holder, I think they should like reduce the number of years, where if you are a regular green card holder, it's 5 years, then you are eligible to become a citizen. Or if you are married to a U.S. Citizen, then it's 3 years. I think for military, it should be like immediate. Once you go through and everything checks out and you are now part of the military, I think it should become immediate. Like you feel when maybe when you graduate from boot camp, from basic
mhm.
training, you get
Yeah,
your citizenship as well.
yeah. Definitely, I agree, man. I think that thing should be automatic, right? There should be no yes protest. I mean,
Yeah.
it's voluntary. It's voluntary. And you're not
They
just walking
volunteer.
through the door. And you're not just walking through the door, right? To your point earlier, Peterson.
There are
Yeah,
requirements that you have to
yeah,
meet.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And once you meet all of the requirements and you're qualified to serve, what's the point of you waiting any number of years to become
exactly.
a citizen? There should be no point. So it should be automatic. You
Yeah, I
know,
think it
this.
will even encourage more people. Yep.
Well, yeah, I think it will encourage more immigrants, right? Especially like now, it will encourage more legal immigrants to say, "Hey, man, look, I think if I come here and I don't have to wait for 5 years to gain my citizenship, I go to the military, it's something, it's a right I can take. Hey, maybe let me do it, right? It's like they'll make that sacrifice. So I think that could be another incentive, actually, right? To encourage more people to want to serve, which is a great thing. Serving is a great thing. So, folks, tonight we are discussing honoring the sacrifices of immigrant soldiers, those that have served this country, those that have, made the ultimate sacrifice to put on our uniform. I mean, our uniform is special. I mean, as Peterson have said, right, whether it's the Navy, is the Marines, is the Army. I mean, it's just so special, right? So those that have our immigrant soldiers that have made that ultimate sacrifice, man, we are honoring your sacrifices tonight. Even those that, you know, you are still around. You're a veteran now. Want to honor you. Thanks so much for your service. Those that are serving, man. We appreciate you. We want to honor you for your service. I think you are doing something that is great. That most of us don't have the spine. I would tell you, man. I don't think I have that kind of a courage. To serve. I don't know. Like my man Peterson said, he tried earlier, but it was convincing. So me, he's not on that same path, right? Me, I don't have that courage, bro. What I mean, I don't think I can do it. So it's like I all hail to
Yeah.
those that have done it. My heads up. Big thanks to all of those that have done it. Those that are doing it, and man, our prayers are to those who have kind of lost their life, and things like that. But Peterson, right, to those that have lost their life in combat or when they are serving in the military or through suicide and things like that, to try to wrap this thing up you know, what should we be doing for those that have left behind? Maybe some of them left kids behind. Some, as I mentioned earlier, some of them left widows behind. What can we do as a community to support those folks that have been left behind?
Yeah. So uh, the pain that those people feel and go through is even, we're talking about amplifying voices, it's even more amplified if they feel like alone or their loved one paid that
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice basically in vain, and they're not
Yeah.
getting like any benefits or anything for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as a community, we need to rally around the family members of
Mm-hmm.
people who have lost integrity, so
Yeah.
that we can support them. And like I said, it's not just a 1 day thing. This is a constant thing because it's a lifetime. It's a life that uh, they lost that they will never get back. So, in terms to make things a little bit easier for them, so that they can never forget the pain, but at least to make it a little bit manageable, we should come around them and support them. Anybody that has a relative, even if they are currently serving, we should always try to support them.
Okay. Yeah, I do agree with you. I do agree with you, right? It's like the best way to honor the dead is to honor those that have left behind. I think, right? That's one of the best that's one of the best things we can do, right? To honor those that have lost their life in combat, serving the US military, sacrificing for this country. I think the best way for us to honor them is to honor those that have left behind, honor their loved ones that they have left behind. So, folks, man, it's a 1 hour conversation. My man Peterson and I have been holding it down. you know, we are wishing everyone a happy Memorial Day, right? Hope you have a long, restful, peaceful, enjoyable Memorial Day. Or Peterson, as we wrap this thing up, what's the message you want to leave, with our audience out there that have been listening to us tonight, and for those that are going to watch the show, what's the message you want to leave with them?
Yep. For everybody who have somebody that has served or is serving, I want to
Hmm.
say we salute you, we honor you. To those who have fallen, want to say thank you for your sacrifice, and
Mhm.
to your families that's all around the country. Want to say that we want to honor you too. Want to thank you, and
Mhm.
want to say because Memorial Day usually in like Chicago is like one of the deadliest days
Okay.
ever
Okay. Yeah.
every year, and
Okay.
it has nothing to do with like military or something, but it's just the the violence in Chicago. For
Okay.
some reason, Memorial Day, everything is amped up. So I
Wow.
want to people. The best way to honor those people is to support them, and
Mhm.
as a community, we need to gather around people and always
Mhm.
show them support. And those who have served and they were able to make it home, we need to stand by them because a lot of our veterans they are suffering. Some of them silently and some not so silent, but we need to be around them and support them. So thank you all. Have a safe Memorial Day and celebrate safely.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point, and thanks for bringing that up. Right, it's like as you mentioned earlier, as we mentioned earlier, Memorial Day is kind of the unofficial start of the summer season. Right, it's like as I said, it's a lot of places now the weather is so nice, and then that's when man is that because we live in a society where in gun is a Second Amendment right, so folks come out, they feel that they have to exercise that right for whatever reason, for sometimes for the wrong reasons, but folks who want everyone safe out there. It's a long weekend, so it's for some it's a 3 day weekend. For some folks it's a 4 day weekend, man. Don't do anything that's gonna harm others. The best way we can honor those that have fallen is to stay out of violence, stay out of trouble, avoid violence, and let us take a moment to remember them, right? Let us honor their sacrifices. To all our immigrant soldiers that have served, we want to say, as my man Peterson said, we want to honor you. We want to thank you for your service, those that are serving. And you brought up a great point, Peterson. We should support our veterans, man. It's so painful to see a veteran out there who is homeless, doesn't have a place to be, and they have served this country diligently. They have served this country. They have given, they have sacrificed, they have made the ultimate sacrifice. I think wherever you are in this country, man, let us support our veterans. Let us support those that have served. So thank you so much, folks, tonight. It's been a great conversation. My man Peterson and I have held it down for the last 1 hour. That's all we are here for. Inner Circle Podcast to amplify our immigrant voices, to elevate, to empower us as immigrants, and to elevate our conversation. And that's what we have done here tonight. So to everyone out there, thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow we're going to be back here for our social segment at the Liberian Making Say Man Woman Business or whatever time, and things like that. So tomorrow we're gonna be back here. And then Monday, we're taking Monday off because Memorial Day. So Monday we're gonna be off. So we hope you can join us next week Tuesday. But Peterson, thank you so much. And folks, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a great conversation. See you all tomorrow and next week.
All right,
In a circle podcast
go
where
put them
hearts
guns down.
unite,
I know, right? Yeah.
sharing our
Put them
truths,
guns down, folks.
bringing
Put it
hope to
down,
the
put
light.
them down. Especially
Community
in that
strong
shot
and
town, man. That
never
shot town, I don't know what they be
alone.
taking it out for. Yeah,
Together
why they
as
be taking
one
it out?
we've
Put it down, folks. Put it
created a
down and have some
home.
fun. But
So
folks, good night.
join the
Thank you so much.
conversation. Let's